Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bolt Action Reloading. In this week's episode, we're going to be going back and validating the best load we've found so far in our Thompson Center Compass chambered in .300 Winchester Magnum. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you'd like to see how I and the rest community here make our group smaller, start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. That way you get notified when I post next week's video and you won't miss anything. Well guys, here we are again, back with our .300 Winchester Magnum Thompson Center Compass. I know some of you guys were getting pretty wore out on this content. However, our today's test, we're going back to validate what was a winning combination in our rifle we tested. I don't want to say the only one, but certainly this combination has given us some of the best results we've found so far in .300 Winchester Magnum. Just in case you're not familiar, we'll go over our test setup for today. Our test platform is a Thompson Center Compass chambered in .300 Winchester Magnum. Our scope is an SWFA fixed 16 power scope, mil. It's currently wearing 30mm Seekins precision scope rings, all that attached to a 20 MOA EGW long action scope base. The factory trigger has been upgraded with an MCARBO trigger spring kit, and we're reducing the recoil with a Precision Armament M4-72-308 brake. As we alluded to in the beginning, today's test is all about going back and making sure that we have actually found a load worth shooting in our .300 Winchester Magnum. In our previous testing, we actually loaded down looking for an accuracy node, and even though it was not the highest velocity, it was certainly the most accurate one we tested so far. Let's go over our components for today's testing. Our projectile for today is a 208 grain Hornady A-Max, part number 30732. Yes, this is a discontinued projectile, unfortunately, but I'm hoping, should we need to switch to it, the 208 ELD will be very similar, hopefully, in performance. The brass that we're using for today's video was the same that we used before, except last time when we shot this, we were actually fireforming these rounds. Obviously, we're not fireforming our brass today, and we wanted to make sure that we were going to get good performance, and hopefully it gives us some great results today. Sticking to the same primers we used before, the FED215M large rifle Magnum primers. Our powder for today is the Hodgdon H1000. We're actually going to be bracketing our load that we tested before. We're starting at 75.6 grains of H1000, going up in 0.2 of a grain increments to 76.4 grains. The cartridge overall length for our round today are 3.630 inches with a CBTO of 2.900. Unfortunately, these are too long to fit in our magazine, so all of our testing today will be single feed. At this point, we just want to see a round we can get some reasonable results out of, and that's what we're willing to do for today's testing. For those of you interested, the shooting conditions for today's testing was 58 degrees Fahrenheit, 46% humidity, and our density altitude was 1,128 feet. The load data from today's testing actually came from Hornady. We've done our pressure validations previously, and based on that information, the performance that we're hoping to mimic today was actually set at 76.0 grains during our previous test. The velocity we hit with that was 2757 feet per second. Our standard deviation was 8.7, extreme spread of 24, but the best group pretty much we've ever shot with our rifle at 0.464 MOA. For a rifle, we've actually struggled to get groups under 3 inches in some cases. A half an MOA is certainly some great performance, but it doesn't really mean anything unless we can validate it with today's testing. The other concern is since we were fireforming during our last test, the internal case capacity has probably changed slightly, and we need to make sure when we reload these that we've compensated for that. That is the reason why we're bracketing it both above and below, just to make sure we're going to capture the performance that we're hoping to with today's testing. Previous tests, we went up to 77.2 grains, which yielded 2810 feet per second. In our previous testing, as far as statistics were concerned, our actual best statistics were achieved at 77.2 grains, which we achieved 2810 feet per second, standard deviation of 4.4 and extreme spread of 10. Not necessarily a bad group for our rifle, but certainly a 1.38 MOA group was not what we were hoping for. At least at this point, I'm willing to back the velocity down 50 feet per second and see if we can regain that great group of half an MOA and at least some reasonable statistics. But we might as well get out to the range, do our testing, see what happens, and then we'll come back and talk about our results. Well guys, you might not be super excited, but overall I'm pretty pleased with our testing for today. Let's get right into our results. At 75.6 grains, our average velocity was 2745 feet per second, standard deviation of 14.9, extreme spread of 34, a 4-shot group of 0.443 MOA, and a 5-shot group of 1.553 MOA. Moving on to 75.8 grains, bumped up to 2750 feet per second, standard deviation dropped to 7.8, extreme spread of only 21, but a 1.191 MOA group. At 76 grains, we were hoping to repeat our velocity. Our velocity is almost identical. Our average velocity was 2755 today instead of 2757. Standard deviation crept up to 15.7, extreme spread of 38, and our group ride remained very similar at 1.146 MOA. Jumping up to 76.2 grains, our average velocity crept up to 2763 feet per second. Standard deviation crept back down a little to 13.2, extreme spread of 30, and our group size improved to 0.954 MOA. For our last group of the day at 76.4 grains, 2770 feet per second was what we achieved as far as velocity was concerned. Our standard deviation improved to 9.7, extreme spread of 24, and a 0.364 MOA group. Well guys, it all depends on what you use for your measuring stick, but as far as today's testing, I'm very happy that at 76.4 grains, we did have a slightly higher velocity, which honestly doesn't break my heart whatsoever. Our standard deviation was a little bit higher. Our extreme spread was exactly 24 as it was the last time we tested. And not only did we at least match our 0.464 MOA group, we actually improved it by a whole tenth of an MOA. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to go on a limb and say we've repeated our results exactly, but I'm very pleased with the performance. And seeing a projectile and powder combination that shot reasonably in our rifle, repeated, and still got a great group, I really have nothing to complain about today. We'll pop our graph on the screen if you guys are interested real quick that shows a good summary of our results. Obviously, if we were loading on statistics alone, the 75.8 grain charge had the lowest standard deviation, though the 76.4 grain load is nothing to sneeze at. Certainly that load would be good out to a reasonable distance, and a great group, 0.364 MOA, for this rifle is certainly nothing to sneeze at. We can look at the brass real quick, nothing really much to see here. 75.6 to 76.4 grain load, no real pressure signs to be concerned with whatsoever. Like we mentioned earlier, we've certainly had this to a higher charge and higher velocity previously. We're well under max load data for today's testing. I think the pressure signs on the cases certainly show this. So guys, winner chicken dinner is what I'm willing to call it today. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm interested to know in the comments section below. We certainly haven't had much luck with our 300 Wood Mag Winchester Compass, and to actually find a projectile that shoots reasonably well that seems to be repeatable, we did have to go to Norma Brass. I don't know if we switched to one of our other brands of brass, if we would be able to mimic these results with group sizes, but at this point, even though we only have 25 cases of it, I know that if I was going to load some to shoot for accuracy tomorrow, this would be the load I would pick that I've found today. But hey, if you've got a Thompson Center Compass and you found a real winning load for it, I'm interested to know what that combination is in the comment section below. But even if you're not interested in the Thompson Center Compass 300 Winchester Magnum, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Any comments or questions, please put those in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet and you like the content, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn the bell notification on so you get notified when I post next week's video. I hope to see you back here on the channel next week. And until then, stay safe in small groups.